You're listening to the voice of Daw. This is Rob MacWolf, your fellow traveler, and today's story is Every 9 Lives or So by Tempe Okun, who's the staff writer at Culturally Effed, voices the solar punk doggo in Puplift, and wrote the novels Six is Wild and Windfall, published by Press. You can find more of his stories on Fur Affinity and So Furry. Please enjoy Every 9 Lives or So by Tempo. She and I spent every lifetime building monuments to get each other's attention. Beacons on the landscape of time. Now we finally get to meet. I arrive at the coffee shop she recommended. The sunshine feels good on my fur, so I nab a seat on the patio. Breeze teases my whiskers. One of the employees is scrubbing down the stand-up chalkboard to write today's specials. I always get born a blank slate, like anybody. Unlike everybody else, my eraser's not so great. The ghosts of my past selves haunt that mental blackboard, every memory a faint and overwritten chalk scribble. It takes some reminding to piece them together. Books help. Photos help. Internet helps. I'm being reminded of things I never knew faster than ever. My tail whips back and forth. I feel out of place, self-conscious, though nobody in the cafe gives a second glance to one more nervous cat. Letting my tail do its thing helps. I was a lynx once and never got the hang of a short tail. I'm pleased to be a caracal this go-around. They look good in a leather jacket. Can't get too attached to this body, but it's the immortal equivalent of waking up to a good fur day for the big date. Builder and teacher, two immortals, anonymous shapers of civilization. First time ever meeting, for coffee, no pressure. Fuck. I check my phone again. No new messages, just relax, no big deal. We've been corresponding for centuries. Yeah, it's been mostly posthumous till this year, but still, we've almost met a few times. A couple times in millennia, we have a near miss. It became an inside joke, every 9 lives, give or take. I'm thankful the world moves faster now. We wrote down the joke a few too many times now. Everybody says cats have 9 lives. Fucking sick of it, they don't even know what it's a reference to. With a quick claw flick, I snap open my e-cigarette and take a deep drag. Nicotine buzzes in my lungs. My breath billows out like a storm front. A few patrons get caught in the cloud and give me dirty looks. They should have seen me at the turn of the century. I smoked like a locomotive. I can still smell it in this jacket, even after all the times I had to oil it. It's so easy to care for leather goods now, and nobody does. I don't remember how it all started, my ghosting the world. Maybe I've always been around. One mind isn't equipped to remember 1,000 lifetimes. All those lives I spent squatting in caves blur together, and that's the furthest I've ever been able to recollect. I think that's why I started the stone carvings. A visit to your previous lifetime's notes is a good way to verify you aren't just delusional. I do remember how we started. Some jerk had broken into one of my caves between lifetimes and left a running commentary on my notes. And I was pissed. This is my private sanctum, not some graffitied back alley. Memento etiam tibi. You remember too? It seemed too good to be true. I had to just be someone with a delusional version of my condition. But my better half has always been good about citation, so she carved me a map to a couple of her own record sites. After a few decades wondering if I'd spent a past life setting up an elaborate prank on myself, I left a note on one. No dislodging her after that. Every lifetime she was back. I lived as a hermit for a couple lifetimes hoping to catch her, but she kept showing up after I died, and leaving me little penitet et vos desiderabat. Sorry, I missed you. Notes. Frustrating. Frustrating is a good word to sum up my existence, even more than most people's. You get born, spend a decade or two having everybody tell you it's just deja vu, and finally find some of your old notes, then it all comes rushing back. Of course, you still had to wander the earth like a fucking lost soul after that, looking for answers, but at least you had an excuse for the deja vu. Then you die and start from scratch. Gets lonely. So I wasn't about to turn down a pen pal. We operated in Latin. Latin sucks, but once you've learned it a few times, it comes back pretty fast. We've only switched to English this lifetime. English sucks too, but in a different and interesting way. I checked the time on my phone again. She should have been here by now. She better not have been hit by a fucking bus. I might never forgive the universe for that kind of tease. I take another drag. This time I blow the vapor straight up through my whiskers. It rises like a column in the still air. I always liked columns, monoliths, stone needles. Shit you can see from far away. Nothing beats a good obelisk. If you make them impressive enough, most people stop fucking with them. They even start maintaining them, which is great for my purposes. Sure, it inspires copycats, but not many people have the attention span. I spent the better part of 2 lifetimes carving a mural into a cliffside, not just because I fell off and died halfway through. It's a good thing museums keep my work behind velvet ropes, or I'd be tempted to touch up a millennia-old mistake. Nice to see the old handiwork, though. Makes me feel sane. Life is an exercise in keeping oneself sane. I flip an old coin along my knuckles. Some habits are hard to break. This one's a keepsake. The tough part was not getting caught for tomb robbing in my own grave. I look out across the patio. No sign of her yet. She has to be here any minute. This is her favorite cafe. I think it's only okay. What if we meet and she hates me? Do we spend the rest of eternity avoiding each other? That's awkward. Then I see her. Padding through the crowd, a snow leopard, been ages since I've been one. She's in a Tibetan wrap dress, the kind with an apron striped like the colors of Himalayan prayer flags. Fitting, since I feel like we climbed Everest to get here. Lots of room for her tail to move under it. Lots of tail to move, too. Her supple form weaves through the seats and servers with the grace of 1,000 lifetimes. Those wise eyes lock onto my t-shirt. Then my face. Heart thundering, I stand. Well, if it isn't my better half. I take her paw. It's warm. I look into her eye. You're late. I wasn't about to get into a crash. She waves a paw serenely. You remember Paris. I roll my eyes. Our last near miss. She was lost at sea, and I waited 2 lives in Paris. I was lucky they needed a sculptor or 2. She grabs me into her arms, like getting a hug from a pillow. Her breasts press against me, her purr rumbling through my body. Without even realizing, I start purring too. Every lifetime I get told I purr with an accent. I never learn it from my mothers like a kitten's supposed to. It's one of the first things that unlocks old memories. After a few seconds, I realize I've shot past the few seconds it's okay to hug someone in public. I blush furiously, break the embrace, and pull out a chair for her. Been trying to arrange this date for a while. My heartbeat starts giving the purr a run for its money. The trick has always been to do it without founding religions. Oh yes, we generated so many false positives thus. My ears still go up when someone talks about reincarnation. Fussing with her prim glasses, she sits down across from me. You can't imagine how many goddesses of knowledge I've been because I couldn't stand to watch people farm wrong. Well, my solution was always to go live in the wilderness. Easy when you've already found out the hard way which plants are poisonous. But then they get all excited because you're a sagely hermit. Yes, almost as if people crave knowledge. She steeples her fingers and purrs at me. And seek out those who have it. I never liked the attention. I do think I never sign anything. That's not strictly true. I leave little clues, motifs, but names are fleeting. Hence why she's just teacher and I'm just builder. And I'm not above the occasional graffito. I hate when I'm a god. Oh, heavy is the head that wears the halo. She laughs at herself and pats my paw, giving it a little shake of conspiracy. They still pick up on our signals, no matter how garbled. Remember when we were in our Phoenix phase? And now they've named an entire city after it. I roll my eyes. A long moment rolls by. She bites her lip. Builder, I must say, I'm sorry about Paris. Her long tail curls around her. I'm over it. I'm mostly over it. Contrition flicks down her whiskers. I had a couple quiet lives. I nod. We both have our quiet lives where we never make contact. Not enough déjà vu? Yes. Island in the Pacific. No monuments there to jog the memories. She shrugged. The next one, everyone explained it as spirits and visions. That'll happen. Better not keep happening with how much ancient Namibian gold I've blown bringing internet to the developing world. The hip new trend is everybody telling you reincarnation isn't real. I did get shot, preventing a nuclear launch. Her thick paws spread with pride, eyes closed over a smile. Civilian contractor. Base commander got twitchy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. My blood shorted out the control panel. Nice. Without permission, but my paw goes up for a high five. You're a fucking champ, Teach. Quite. Easily my top 10 deaths. She slaps her palm to mine. I have to presume my reincarnation card is cancelled if the world blows up. Best to keep it intact. I'll drink to that. I wave to the server in that half-apologetic, half-casual way that shows you're not an asshole. Some things never change. The server, a perky pointer, sets a cup down in front of her and fills it with fragrant black coffee. She woofs a little greeting to my companion like she's such a regular that she doesn't need the menu explained or anything. I've rarely stuck around someplace that long, except for her. After topping me off, she aligned on the next customer in need, freezing only a second she analyzed their needs, then trotted over. I clink my claws against the plain ceramic mug. Modern coffee is great stuff. Isn't it just? Her paws lift the steaming cup to her muzzle as she inhales appreciatively. How was it troublesome 300 years that everyone was ruining their coffee with chicory? I raise the cup to my lips, blowing across the hot liquid. If I could smuggle an espresso machine back to the middle of the Ottoman Empire right when they were inventing coffee, they'd have started the steam age, then and there. And be sure to tell them they don't have to brew it so strong. My other half swirls creamer into her coffee, then pitches the stir stick into a fine art. It sails over the heads of oblivious patrons and sinks into a trash bin on the far side of the patio. A grin takes me by surprise. The old muscle memory. Her turquoise eyes glimmer. She grabs a forgotten straw wrapper from beside the sugar dish, rolls it into a rough toothpick shape, and arcs it effortlessly into the trash. I clap politely. Reassuring to see even Teacher isn't above reveling in her superpowers. Her shoulders roll in a modest shrug. You should see what I can do with a spear. The fun thing about reincarnation is you never know what you've got muscle memory for. I keep waiting to find out I'm a karate master, but I keep finding I can cross-stitch or some shit instead. I wove a bag of licorice into a basket last week without thinking about it. You ever think about the Olympics? I take a sip, letting the heat spread over my gums. You and a javelin could rewrite the record books. I tried the original games, not the reboot. Her fingers toy with the air. I admit it crosses my mind every few decades. Just seems a tad unsporting. I'd have to sign up too. I snapped my e-cig open and closed a few times one-handed. Give you a little competition. I don't like to feel like I'm cheating. She notices the table is vibrating and follows the motion down to my leg. I say, are you always this fidgety? It's how I stay skinny. I brandish a sugar packet at her. You have any idea what I've done for this stuff most of my lives? Now you don't even pay for it. With a quick claw, I slice the packet open and dump the contents into my cup. See that? Dissolves before I can even stir it. That's how you know it's the good stuff. Fuck, stop talking about sugar. She smiles politely. One fluffy paw pushes up her librarian glasses. I hope my ears look as ancient and wise as hers. Regarding your choice of garb, she eyes my shirt again. The needle of Hermel? That's a trifle vain. I look down at the silk-screened spire. Got your attention, didn't it? At least twice. She smiles, fangs gleaming white. Nice teeth. Modern era is great for teeth. We'd be gods of dental hygiene at most points in history. History was a series of toothaches that sometimes killed you. Did I cut that check for that toothbrush charity? I realize I'm zoning out again. Shit, the most important moment in my many lives, and I'm reminiscing. Too late. She's already staring again. That look you keep getting. She tips a digit toward me. Must be the one my family's always say I get. Fascinating to see it from the outside. I manage a little smirk. I'm freaking out just a little. 1,000 lifetimes, and I can't think of shit to say. A car rumbles by. Out the open car window, the elephant driver slaps the door, slowly denting it. Its stereo pumps out bass, rattling the lid of the creamer and every other piece of ceramic within a city block. Kids these days and their music. I try and suppress a smile under my best crabby old cat growl. I remember when we just smacked rocks against bigger rocks. She laughs. It was terrible. Oh yeah, modern instruments are way better. I absently finger some lute chords. Some of the songs are my fault. Forgotten nursery rhymes make the best earworms. Catchy and simple. She nods. I had wondered if that was a builder project. Branching out into audio monuments, are we? Leaning back in my chair, I shrug. A cat's gotta eat. Rolling her eyes, she leans in with a confessional tone. I shan't judge you too harshly. I brought back the na-na-na-na-na-na taunt. No! I run my paws down my face, flattening my whiskers. You should have left it buried. You'll have to forgive me. I was 6. She waves away my despair. My playmates were terribly impressed. A dark thought crosses my mind. Don't tell me you're the one putting Pachelbel's canon in pop songs. The snow leopard groaned. Why would I do that to myself? I thought we were safe from that thing until someone dug it up in 1919. Now it may well follow us forever. I nod. Recorded music has scared me into never half-assing a song, even for money. I don't like to be reminded of my professional laziness whenever I turn on the radio. What do you do? I clean some imaginary dirt from my claws, then glance up at her. Besides, live off buried gold. You do that too? She perks up, ears popping up. We are the only people that has ever worked out for. She smooths her wrap over that fluffy chest. I'm struck by the sudden desire to see all her spots. After all these years, all these lovers, all those awkward puberties, I never thought I'd be this giddy and horny again. And yet, fantasies are flaring up. Grab her hand, find a hotel, tear off our clothes, leap on one of those springy modern beds, and fuck, she said something, now she's waiting for me to respond. Better call in my millennia of witty repartee. Huh? She steeples her thick paws and rests her chin atop them. I said, I'll have you know I'm a brilliant linguistics scholar. Easy to be a polyglot when you live forever, I scoff. I thought you didn't like to cheat. It's not cheating if it helps people. She leans over the table like a conspiratorial librarian. Besides, I only know 100 languages or so. Most of them nobody speaks anymore. Ave ne me diga. Tell me about it. I take another drag on my e-cig, let it trail in thin streams from my nostrils. I had quite the collection of puns in English, and the great vowel shift upset the whole apocryte. With an amused flick of that fluffy tail, she leans back in her chair. She studies me with the motionless focus I learned as a hunter-gatherer, but with none of the hunger. She learned it then, too. For a few centuries I've daydreamed I might have already met her and fallen in love. Shit, no. I'd have remembered. I'd have recognized that stare. Rain patters down, freckling the flagstones. The chatter around us turns dismayed. Patrons gather their drinks and muffins and scamper indoors. She watches them go. Her fluffy tail flicks back and forth, scattering raindrops. She and I sit in the empty patio. I smile across the table at her as the rain sprinkles my pelt. A wry smile tilts her damp whiskers. "What's the little rain?" I lift my cup in assent, drops dancing into the coffee. I've seen worse. Storm clouds roll in, flashes strobe between them. Thunder peals across the sky. Purple ghosts linger in my eyes as I watch. I never get tired of storms. She nods. Her whiskers bend back as she looks up at the sky. Her snowy white throat begs to be licked and nuzzled. Then she smiles at me. They're reassuring in their way. Never change. I jerk a daring thumb at the sky. For all the gods pitched to me, thunder gods have been the most compelling. Something theatrical about vaporizing whatever displeases you with a bolt from the heavens. After all this fuss, watch as we get struck by lightning. We'd best hold hands. Her paws slid to touch mine, to ensure both of us are smitten. My heart feels like it's trying to climb up my chest. For the first time in ages, something is changing. All through talking to her online, I had some distance. Now she's holding my hand. I clear my throat with a strained purr. I'd have met you years ago if you'd gotten on dating sites. That's only half true. The internet steals all our best shit. Time travel, oracles, immortals, new age, past life quackery. I'd started to worry I'd never know who she was in the sea of idiots. Only found her because she maintained a blog of old dirty limericks in dead languages, one of which I idly searched. Just saying. I tire of turning people down. Her aqua eyes skim over the other customers. I have trouble connecting with regular people. They think I'm morbid. Comes with dying so much, I'm afraid. Well, I don't think you're morbid. Probably shouldn't start lying to my better half, considering. Yes, but you've known me forever. Her tail swishes against the back of her chair. Rain darkens the bright stripes of her outfit. Rain runs down my leather jacket, splashes on the tabletop, forgotten. You're just an old soul. She smirks. Her eyes are impossibly ancient. Is that what mine look like? I must ask, was this a good idea? Us meeting like this? Hearing even a tiny crack of uncertainty in her alarms me in a way I don't get many times a century. Why wouldn't it be? Maybe you'd have liked me more from afar. Rain splashes down over her paws as she sat with eternal ease, studying me like she saw straight through my ego. It's certainly been a motivation in your work. Perhaps that was the point. I might be a god, but even I'm not air enough to think I get a destiny. We make our destiny by doing crazy stuff, like meeting you. My hackles prickle as the storm soaks into them, leaving me feeling defensive. I was scared shitless to meet you, because it's one of the few things we don't get a do-over on. But I still showed up. Teacher looks over water-speckled glasses at me, unmoving and unreadable. I'm not used to people being as alien as I am. It's bullshit that she gets to be older than me this time. We're both eternal. Uncertainty flickers over her face, like she's reviewing 100 past lifetimes for context. A sheet of rain sweeps up the street. It drenches us, refilling our cups. We keep drinking, not wanting our coffees to get cold. Taking advantage of the storm being too loud for conversation, I assess the foundations we're laying down on this date. I've been acting like a weirdo. She seems unsure. Did she walk in knowing I'd hate the idea of taking things slow? Can she read that much about me off some sand-blasted obelisks? Fuck. No wonder she always gets to be the god of wisdom, and I get stuck with building the world. She's always been better with people. The unfamiliar dread of being outmaneuvered even by someone as endlessly benevolent as teacher sinks into my chest. I spent whole lifetimes knowing more than everybody I meet. Now I feel like a remedial student. Fuck that, though. There's one thing I learned, it's how to improvise. Adapt. Nose cracks off your gigantic jackal statue? Carve a lion instead. I dump more sugar in my coffee. The packets are getting soggy, and I hate seeing such incredibly refined sugar go to waste. Those would have flattered a monarch a few hundred years ago, but now they're disposable as skewers. Her fingertips slip under mine, lifting a paw pad to paw pad. Conversely, we've been looking for each other as long as I can remember. Those bright blue eyes meet mine. What if this was the point? Then maybe we shouldn't get hit by lightning? I roll my eyes. I feel bad enough about introducing that whole one true love TM idea to the world. Don't you start buying into it too. I'm being serious. She leans forward on the table, damp fingers interlaced with academic calm. What if this is our last lifetime? Anxiety simmers inside me. I thought I'd be the one full of bullshit. I had this idea of her in my head all these centuries that she'd be secure in all the ways I haven't nailed down yet myself. All those notes she left for me seemed so wise. The scriptures she inspired sure played her up as having it all together. Then we're still better off than everybody else. She seems at least minimally appeased. Then those wise eyes sharpen on me. My apologies. Just my insecurities talking. Rain collects on my ear tufts to fall in massive drips. I'm mostly insecurities on the inside. I bring the vaporizer to my lips, appeasing them with another nicotine offering. You should hear what they say. Her big wet paws scrub together, trying to express the friction she feels. What if there are others out there like us? What if we should be dating them instead of each other? A laugh bursts from my muzzle. Fuck 'em. Gotta put yourself out there if you want to find a good relationship. I pinch the corner of my t-shirt and snap it against my collarbone. The design ripples like a flag, scattering a fine mist of rainwater. Build some obelisk. Very well. I admit you're right, if Freudian. The coffee cup conceals a grinning muzzle. It's only been a couple lifetimes and I'm already sick of everyone talking about Freud. People act like he invented feeling weird about sex. Fireworks shoot around inside my brain, each burst a flash of what I'd like to do with her naked. I thought I was too old for this shit. I don't remember the first time I was a teenager, but I'm pretty sure this is what a crush feels like. Before television, that was the world's most popular hobby. Her fangs glint in a smile. Nostalgia? Or does she like watching me squirm? 1,000 lifetimes of emotional attraction grip my heart, and my pants. I need to change the subject before I make an ass of myself. I also need to stop checking out her ass. I think she caught me that time. I clear my throat with a debonair purr. I spent my directly previous lifetime discovering our old work. Her white furred fingers interleave on the table. Through dripping whiskers, a coy simper glows. I stand by my assessment of vanity. Guilty. Phone's full of gallery websites of my greatest hits. Nothing boosts the ego like seeing my work in museums. People talk about having a sense of longing. I wink at her. You flirt. Had you been saving that line up for a few lifetimes? Her damp hand pats mine. Have you any plans for our second date? Good sign. And I'm ready for this question. Leaning forward, I grin. Want to take over the world? A full-throated laugh echoes down the street, leaving me to wonder how many of those laughs I've caused without hearing them. Everybody looks because the snow leopard librarian threw her head back with a laugh, but the awkward attention is short-lived. She wipes away a mirthful tear. No, thank you. I ruled a city-state, once. My worst idea by a league. Even though I knew the joke was coming, I can't help chuckling along, carried along by her amusement. She's right, of course. I've spent history figuring out what's worth doing. The world's monstrously complex. Like anybody else, we're best off exerting our pressure steadily, with an audacious shove at opportune moments. Now for the real plan, as far as I have one. The state's finally turning around. My heart's still climbing my throat, but I babble onward coolly. I buried some silver bars in the Sahara a few lives ago. Been meaning to get back to them. My claw traces a rough map on the table's raindrops. Should only take a few months. Aqua eyes widen on me. The Sahara? Right. Snow leopard. I snap my fingers, then toss the plan away. Well, I have some shit buried in the glacier a couple lives back. We could track it down before it turns into an iceberg. She squishes the empty sugar pats into little wet balls and flicks them with her thumb into that trash bin opposite us on the patio. 3 out of 3. I arranged for my classes to be covered until Friday. Thought we'd spend the week together for a start. Delicate claws adjust her glasses, which are flecked with rain. I can't fly to the ends of the earth for the rest of the semester. My ears rise, getting hit by drops. You just want to stick around town? What the fuck? Is she going to just go back to her routine? It's not likely. She kept up the pen pal thing just as long. It's not fair either, but it's the way I feel. What is your great rush? A coy look flashed onto her muzzle, accenting its hints of gray. I like to think I'm a passable cook by now. You should come over to my house after this. I'll cook us an early dinner. We should get to know each other. That does sound nice, but my dander's still up. I flick a paw back and forth between us, firing raindrops between us. We know each other better than anyone has known anyone. A chuckle rumbles from her chest like receding thunder. We've known each other in person for 10 minutes. Irrational outrage explodes like a dropped oil lamp. I try to smother the flames. I know a ton about you, though. Her small ears perk up, tuned into me. Very well, Builder. Now I'm curious. Remember when I was carving that cliffside and fell off halfway through? I tip a clawed finger at her. Her wide paw slaps the wet table. She leans in with a toothy, secretive smile. And I found your skeleton at the bottom. It was a bit awkward. Right. And you did that fucking classy job on my tomb. A smile spreads across my muzzle. What was it you carved on it? Looks great so far, be more careful. Even once you translated it from Sanskrit, nobody had any idea what that meant. Her laugh is low, conspiratorial, and wonderful. I'm glad you came back to finish it. The etched cliffs are some of your best work. I still see papers debating the Egyptian influences on a cliff in South America. I never know how to feel about people interpreting my monuments. It's flattering, if a little embarrassing. My paw reels out the line of reasoning. Just based on that, you're supportive and have a sense of humor. A sense of humor is vital for eternal life. Her aqua eyes twinkle with mischief. Or at least eternal sanity. I've been investing heavily into longevity research. A bitter grin rises to my lips. If everybody's immortal, I won't feel so tragic. The leopard nods, whiskers bobbing. Good theory, I'll admit. She snaps a lens cloth from her purse and polishes her glasses, clean. She waves it at me like Exhibit A and chuckles. Microfiber, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking love the stuff. I need to stop fucking saying love. It feels cheap saying it around her when I won't say it to her. I don't want to wear it out. New memory. Give me a moment. Slipping her glasses back on. She glances to the sky for a moment, then counts absently on her fingers. 20 lives ago, perhaps? I sat in on some lectures by Ibn al-Haytham, the father of optics. I'd have been teacher's pet if I brought him one of these. I get a feeling you were, anyway. My heart races at how casually she mentioned the defining feeling of my existence, remembering stuff that slipped your mind for millennia. Nice to know someone understands. Can the teacher be anything but a teacher's pet? Not Shumi. My stars. She laughs with an adorable lack of irony. I hadn't thought about that in ages, and I do mean ages. She bumps my thigh with a damp toe. You know how to make a girl remember a good time. I look around at the crowd checking the weather on their phones. Do you feel bad for everybody else? They don't get to have what we have. They get to do it in all one lifetime. Rather than spending 1,000 years tracking down their one true love, she shrugs. Some of my quiet lives were the happiest. That said, this one's just become quite interesting. With a swish of her soggy tail, she winks at me. Sky's clearing. The pavement shines. Birds chase the clouds off. Cafe patrons poke their heads out into the drizzle and dare each other to reclaim the patio. A red panda totters out, dragging her long tail into a puddle, and then trying to shake the water off with a chittered chirp. Sporadic droplets splash us. She looks aghast and starts to apologize, but my pen pal and I give her a wet shrug of forgiveness. Us syncing up, just that little gesture, means a lot to me in stupid, metaphorical ways. I've always wanted somebody who gets me, who I connect with, and I carved a path through time to make sure we found each other. I want to say 100 things. I love you as 99 of them. But you can't just burst that out on the first date. She'd make fun of me forever. Got eternity to carve this monument. And for once, we get to build one together, to learn from each other. So instead, I place a tan paw on hers, and chase the cynicism from my voice for a moment. Hey, I'm happy I found you. A high mew of delight accompanies the flick of her bushy tail. And I am happy I don't have to get through life alone again. She chuckles at herself. I do sound a bit more, but I'm afraid. It's quite an experience having someone I can be so open with. Reassures a nervous old cat. Yeah, I grin like a dope. Guess I wound myself up for this more than you did. I run a paw over my wet face. Hope I haven't been weirding you out too much. Far from it. If I've seemed blasé, it's only because I anticipate we have the rest of forever to remedy any mistakes we make today. She shrugs. And every motivation to try. What I wasn't expecting was for my deathless soulmate to be adorable. A blush ambushes me. Not a label I usually get. All right. Your flattery sealed the deal. I roll my eyes. Second date, you cook dinner and I'll sit there and try not to construct obelisks. Only if you need my attention. With a bounce, she leans in, dragging my wet paws toward her across the slick table. We kiss. It's a small thing in the grand scheme of things, but in our scheme, it's grand. A quick little touch of lips, and we're back in our chairs grinning and purring. Holy fuck. Maybe finding each other was just the warm-up adventure. A kitty could get used to being understood. And being understood is worth the work. Monuments take time, after all. This moment, this key instant in history, chisels its mark in eternity. Then everybody around us makes a big fucking deal about how the chairs are wet. Her drying ears lift their ancient complaints. I tip back the last of my watered-down coffee. My eyes meet hers, which are back to studying me. I squirm. So, what do we do now? I take an heavy drag on my e-cig. I'm the one being unfair. In my mind, I built her up into something perfect, flawless, typical me. She's more interesting as flesh and blood than stone, though. From the subtle confluence of emotion on her muzzle to the way she, with a purr, snaps her fingers at the vaping device. You will quit smoking, for one. Oh, come on, Teach, I was nervous. I throw my arms wide, a thin ribbon of vapor streaming from the sci-fi hookah's mouthpiece. And I quit the real shit last life. This body's only done vaping and gum. Plenty of people take a lifetime to quit. A laugh rattles from her throat. Still, you puff like a fog machine. Lagom arbast. Moderation is best. A coy glance narrows those slitted eyes. She's about one bounce away from pouncing me, her dress shimmering like an uncharted sea. I don't like the strain it puts on you. Having gone through the trouble of finding you, I intend for you to last a while. Yeah, good point. I put the e-cig away and start playing with my lucky coin instead. I once had a worry stone last for a few lifetimes. Wonder how many this coin will be good for. What happens when one of us dies? Her eyes twinkle with mischief, looking deep into mine. She waves the server over, who tiptoes the puddles up to us. Still dripping from the rain, teacher orders while keeping me in the corner of her eye. The usual. This was Every 9 Lives or So by Tempe, read for you by MacWolf, Werewolf Hitchhiker. As always, you can find more stories on the web at thevoice.dog, or find the show wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening to The Voice of Dog.